Yep. Good evening, everyone. So last session we discussed about how do we configure the routes. So we learned about how do we define basic routes. We learned about route parameters. We learned about how do we define the nested routes. How to use nested routes. One example we discussed about that. Today we will see another option. So authorizing routes. How do we authorize routes? Actually, authorizing is nothing but we can restrict users and we can allow only the users who successfully logged in and they can only access our resources. For that, a complete mechanism is required. Actually, Angular provides a simple concept for that. So, means what is the concept is here. This is, yeah. Here the concept is user must able to access electronics, jewelry, or anything only after login. That means we need to provide a login, and through login only he can access. So that is what basic authentication here. So generally every route is accessible. Currently every route is accessible. Electronics. We created nested routes. Nested routes, click on details, it will get the detail of that. More details, it will get the more information. I hope you practiced this, right? Complete end to end. I uploaded the complete example with services and all what we do. Now the concept here is actually when you are dealing with the routes, anyone cannot access directly the content. First he need to log in. But actually in order to log in, first he need to register. That means first user have to register, then he need to log in, then only we can provide access. It's a very big approach. So for registering, for storing the data, you need some backend. Actually we use backend, server side databases and server side logics. By using that, we can maintain. Generally, many people learn by using JWT tokens. So that is front end only. Now, the main concept in real time is we manage through backend. But in order to understand that, first you need to have some knowledge on backend technologies, anything. Many people ask like how to work with backend APIs. How to work with backend API? First, you have to have knowledge on backend API. That means, do you know any backend APIs? How to create APIs? Do you know any backend technologies? Without that, nobody can explain, right? That means many times people ask like how to work with backend APIs. Backend APIs, first you have to learn how to create them. That's what your backend technology teaches you, Java, PHP, .NET. People coming from such backgrounds who knows already backend services APIs, for them consuming in the front end nothing, same what you learned using HTTP GET. I will show one complete scenario, but first we will try to implement this mechanism, how to authorize. Then we can work with backend database also. Actually, here two basic things are there. I hope you people know what is difference between authorization and authentication. Any idea? What is difference? What is difference between the words authorization and authentication? What do you say? Is there any difference between these two? What is the difference? The difference between authorization and authentication. Anything? No? Come on, tell me if any idea difference between them. So actually authorization is restricting access to resources in application. Restricting access to resources in application, that is authorization. Authorization means restricting access to resources in application. That means resources means what? Any file, any location, user cannot access. That means a file is present, but you cannot open. That is called as authorized. That means you are not authorized. For example, in order to enter into an office, you need a biometric. So that biometric is an authorization for there is an authorization for office. And what is that authorization for office? That means everybody cannot enter. How they can enter? By passing authentication. And biometric is authentication. That means you put your finger. So biometric, it will read the fingerprint. Then it will allow you to enter into office. Verifying your fingerprint is authentication. Verifying your fingerprint is authentication. So if it is verifying your user ID password, that is authentication. That means you are not authorized to access any resource. To access, you need a authentication to pass. So authorization means restricting resources so that everybody cannot access the resources. Authentication is the process of verifying credentials. It is the process of verifying credentials. That means checking whether user ID password are matching, whether the fingerprint is matching. That is authentication. So creating a login page is authentication. Giving access to product details only when successfully login, that is called authorization. So we put an authorization for resources, and in order to access, they have to pass authentication. Authentication is usually user ID, password, tokens and all. Generally, the point authorization and authentication is that. That means just rough point I will give you here. Suppose, so in the project, suppose there is a folder. In the project, there is a folder. This is some secured folder. This is a secured folder. This is a secured folder. And somebody is trying to access that folder. Somebody is trying to access the folder. But he is not allowed. He is not allowed to access that folder. That means he is not authorized. He is not authorized to access the folder. How he can access? By passing an authentication. That authentication is user ID and password. Some password. So once you pass the authentication, now you are authorized to see this secured folder. That is what generally we call as authorization and authentication. Now how to manage this actually? Angular, what it will do is, so you can You can authorize angular routes by using route guards. You can authorize angular routes by using route guards. So Angular provides a concept called route guards. By using these route guards, you can authorize. For every route, you need to add a guard. For every route, you need to add a guard. For example, you see now, as of now, I click on electronics. Everybody can access electronics, but I don't want. If anybody clicks on electronics, it should not open. Then how? We need to add a guard for electronics. Let's see. What I will do is, I will go to the project here. This is our shopper template. In shopper template, what I will do is, all the guards also I will add here only. That means I will put a separate folder in shopper template. I will give as guards. I am creating a separate folder called guards. Now in this, we will add guards for every path. That means I will open in integrated terminal. This is the guards. Now we need to generate guards for every route. I want a guard for electronics. That means ng generate guard. You have to use ng generate guard. And the guard for which one? Electronics. That's it. Skip test. Here we will skip test. That means automatically a guard is added for electronics. Now here some questions are asked. You can see when I try to add a guard, it will ask few questions. So see the first question. It is asking here is, which interface would you like to implement? Because see, route guard have 4 interfaces. 4 interfaces means 4 contracts. One contract can activate child, can deactivate, can load. Can activate is nothing but it is the guard for entering into that path. If you want to restrict entry into any path, then you have to use can activate. Can activate child is restricting entry into child path. If you are writing for any child path, children, yesterday last session we saw children. If you want to put restriction for children, then you have to use can activate child. And deactivate means you are restricting to coming out. You cannot come out. Once you go in, you cannot come out of that path until the condition is satisfied. Until the condition is satisfied, you cannot come out. You might have seen some websites. User will go into a page and without completing, he can't come out. That means he need to complete the process and he should come out. For example, you see online exams. Like in online exams, they will give you one question. You can't go to next question without choosing the first one. There is no chance. That means they will not allow to go to next until or unless you finish the first. That means come out of that route is also restricted. When he can come out of that particular path, when he satisfied the requirement. That means you can restrict for entry, you can restrict for exit. That means you can restrict entry, you can restrict exit. That means when he can exit, that also you can decide. When he can enter, that also we can decide. And when he can load it, after entry, loading data, loading services, that also you can restrict. That means he can enter, but he cannot load certain things. That also we can restrict. So it is asking which one you want to implement. Remember, you can implement multiple also. So one method for restricting entry, another method for restricting exit. It's your wish. If you want, you can select, first one is selected, you can select deactivate spacebar. By using spacebar, you can select, because multiple interfaces can be implemented. You know already that. Currently, we want restriction for only activate. Activate means we don't want allow to enter into it. Okay. Okay, we selected can activate, enter. Now the route guard is ready. So many times this is asked like a question in interviews. In many interviews, we have seen people asking, can you explain route cycle? There are 2 points actually. Route cycle, I already told you. Client makes a request to web server uses a processing pipeline, HTTP handler, routing engine, route table. That is the route cycle. Sometimes people ask, what are the various route cycle methods? Route cycle methods, just like life cycle methods. Life cycle methods we learned ng on init, ng on changes, ng after content init, and all this. Like that, route life cycle events. Actually, there are no separate route life cycle events, but experienced people, they ask because they want to know whether the person knows the complete phases of route. How many phases are there in route? There are 4 phases. One phase is entering into route, another phase exiting the route, another phase is loading the content in route. Another phase is, so we have activate, deactivate, another one load. Another one is child routes. After activate, can he activate child route? After that, can he come out of that route? After that, can he load? These are the 4 phases. First, activate parent. After that, activate child. After that, deactivate. After that, load. After that, deactivate. So deactivate is the last one, right? So if anybody asked you those life cycle events of route, then these methods you have to tell. 4 methods you have to tell. I will give you that in the list. Okay. Initially, we added a guard. Like this, you have to add guard for everybody. For every route which you want to restrict, you have to add guard. And you see now, guard is added, electronics guard, and you can see it is a service. Injectable means, you know, injectable means it is a service. So route guard is a service. Automatically it is using the service, and you see here, it is by default having a method. What is the method? Can activate. And this method returns a Boolean value. That means, how do we generate the guard? First step, so generating guards. So how do we do that? First, create a new folder, and the folder is guards. Then add a new guard from terminal. We have to use ng generate guard, ng generate guard, and the terminal, that is some electronics, and skip test. Now here you need to know, select can activate. Can activate. You have to choose that can activate. Here you need to know one option, that every route guard default returns, every route guard default returns true. It returns true, which means you can access the path, which means you can access the path. So how to restrict then? How to restrict access it? How to restrict accessing? You can restrict access by returning false. By default, route guard returns true. That means everyone can access. You set it to false, then nobody can access. That means that you have to set here. That means we need to set. By default, it is C. By default, it is returning what? True. Actually, this is just can activate. Can activate is a method. You don't need all these options as of now. Yep. You don't need all this, right? Just I will clean up. This is can activate. And what this can activate have to do, it will return true or false. If it is returning true, that means it is allowing access. Remember, you return a guard, but this guard is not yet applied to your path. You separately created a guard. That means what you have to do after configuring the guard, syntax I will give here. What we have to do, can activate. Can activate. It is usually what type? Boolean type. So that means what it should do? It should return a Boolean true or false. True or false. Now very important, after you created the guard, so route guard is assigned. Route guard is assigned to specific route path. It is assigned to specific route path in which location app routing.module.ts. In app routing module, you have to attach this. Directly you added a route guard. Route guard is an ordinary class. Then how this class will work for your electronics route? You added a guard separately. How this guard will work for your electronics route? You have to attach that. That means what you have to do, go to this app routing module. In app routing module, in electronics, which component? Electronics component. Here we have to use can activate. Here you have an attribute can activate. Can activate depends on whom? Depends on the route guard we created. What is that route guard name? Electronics guard. What is the name? Electronics guard. Electronics guard can activate. So that depends on that electronics guard. And you can see this can activate. Can activate is an array. It is an array. That means you can have multiple guards. So that means it is an array. In the array, we need to define the guard name. So why multiple guards? I told you now, one for entry, one for exit, one for loading, one for child. You can add multiple guards. Right now you can define this. That's fine. This is working fine. Now actually, what is this guard returning? This guard is returning true. If can activate is true, then only it is accessible. It is accessible. Observe now, I click on electronics, it's working fine. That means I can access that electronics and I can use it here. So it is accessible. It is working fine. This data will take time to load, right? But we are able to access that and we are able to use it. Now it is loading and everything is fine. But important is if I don't want to access, then in this guard, you have to set return. What is that return? False. That is what we have to do. If I return false, then I click on electronics. It's not working. It's not working for me now. I'm clicking on it. And you cannot access. But it should not be like that. It should show something saying that please log in. Right? Currently it's not working. That is working fine. That means if you are restricting the routes, with guards, then they will prevent access. Now, how to access? Who can access? People who successfully log in, they should able to access. That means if anybody tries to, you see jewelry is working fine. But electronics, I try to click on it, it's not working at all. It's not working. But it should not be like that, because user will be confused. He thinks that I am selecting, it's not opening. You have to tell the user that for this you need an authentication. That means you are not authorized, you need an authentication. How to verify? That means if user is already logged in, then we can give access. If user is not logged in, then we need to prevent. That means depends on whether user login status is correctly defined or not. That means if login status is logged in, then it should allow. If status is log out, then it should not allow. That means how you will verify whether user logged in or not. To verify whether user logged in or not, usually in our web development we use, that means we need to assign the guard. Syntax I will give. How do we define path? Path is what? Electronics. In that component is what? Shopper, shopping electronics component. And in that you need to define can activate. Can activate is an array. Here we have to define. So that is electronics guard. This is how we need to define. That is the path configurations. Now, important is it allows you to access only when it returns to true. So now I will change this to true again. Instead of false, I will change it to true. When I change it to true, I click on electronics. Now electronics is again available. So if it is set to false, you cannot open it. But how websites will verify whether user logged in or not? Usually that is done. Usually in any technology in the world, we do that by using cookies. By using the concept of cookies. 100 to 100%, no other way. Only cookies. There is no other way. No other storages. We use only cookies for that. Actually, cookies are very common. For example, you see, I'm using some Chrome here. Yeah. This is the Chrome browser. And here I will open Chrome :settings. In Chrome settings, I am searching for cookies. And let's go to the cookies. Cookies are allowed. I will block the cookies here. Block all cookies. So after blocking the cookies, I am using Gmail. In Gmail, I will try to log in with my account and continue. It will immediately show cookies are disabled. There is no chance. If anybody asks how to log in without cookies, there is no chance. Forget that. That means, is there any alternate? No alternative. You have to use a browser which uses cookies. You have to use a browser where cookies are enabled. Then only login option will work. Otherwise, no chance. There is no other alternative for this. If you want to log in, enable cookies on your browser, then only it will work. This is a very basic thing every web development technology teaches you, right? In jQuery, JavaScript, while working, you can use cookies. PHP, JSP, .NET, everywhere you will have cookies, right? The concept of cookie is nothing but generally cookie is a simple text document. It is a simple text document. So user credentials can be stored in cookie. And actually cookie is appended into two locations. One is browser memory, another one is client hard drive. If it is appended into browser memory, then it is called in-memory cookie. And it is appended into hard drive, then it is persistent cookie. We have two techniques actually. We will store the client details and we will upload those details into browser memory. That means how much time it will keep your information. Until the browser is open. Once you close the browser, it is gone. There is another technique. You can save cookie permanently in their hard drive for a duration of any infinite. That means 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, 2 days. So, or any number of days you can set. What is advantage of that? Advantage of that is nothing but even you close the browser, still the cookie is present in their computer. That means next time when they open your website, they don't need to log in. Directly cookie is verified and it will automatically log in. So the question here is, why you need these cookies? Why we need the cookies concept actually? It's a big concept in web development. Generally, I hope you people know that we are using HTTP. I hope you have heard HTTP. It is a stateless protocol. HTTP is a stateless protocol. That is the primary thing you need to remember forever as a web developer. HTTP is a stateless protocol. What does that means? That means it cannot remember information between requests. One request is finished, then the content for that request is deleted from memory. It cannot remember information between requests. And to make information remembered between requests, in web technologies we use state management techniques. State management techniques are used. In web development, we use state management techniques. By using those techniques, we can keep the application remember information between requests. That means I will tell you one simple point here actually. The point is, suppose you open Gmail. In first screen, it will ask, what is your user ID password? You enter the user ID password. After that, it logs in. It goes to your inbox. In inbox, you can see there are 10 mails. After showing you inbox, internally it disconnects. Because your user ID password, after verifying, it is sent to inbox. After that, it is deleted from server. Then you selected first mail. When you selected first mail, it will ask login again. That means now imagine for every mail you have to log in. That is the nature of websites, web application. Every web application will have this nature. Then that's not good. You cannot ask to log in for every page. Then how do we remember the information that he provided in first page and we continue for other pages? By using state management techniques. And cookie is one of that. Cookie is one of the state management technique used in web applications. There are so many state management. Client side state management will be there. server-side state management will be there. If you are learning any server-side technology, JSP, PHP, .NET, they will teach you server-side state management. Client-side state managements, one of the concept is cookies. And this is primary. It is compulsory for every application that is using authentications, right? So now cookie is a state management technique. What is the concept of cookie? In first page, when they log in, we will store the details in a cookie and we can access that from any page and use it. That is the nature. That is the reason you might have observed you open Gmail and log in into Gmail and don't sign out and close the browser. You are still logged in. Next time you open the browser and open Gmail, directly your account opens. Am I right? And that will not happen if you delete cookies. You go to browser history, delete, clear all cookies, then again log in, open Gmail. This time it will ask login. Why? Because the cookie is deleted from your computer. That cookie contains all your authentication details. And you saw in the website, in the browser, I have an option, enable disable cookies. They have given an option for blocking cookies. Why they have given an option for blocking cookies? Because cookies are very dangerous. So the primary virus carriers on internet are cookies. Many times you might have heard that somebody telling that don't open this website, cookie virus will come. That is a silly thing. Opening a website will not get virus until or unless you allow cookies from that website. That is the reason very recently cyber laws become very strict and it is mandatory that every website should ask the user for cookies. Earlier we don't have that. From past 1 year you can see. Earlier we don't have that. But from past 1 year you can see everybody following these standards. You can see every website when you open they ask, we have cookies, will you allow? Have you seen that? It was not there earlier because earlier if you want security then block cookies by yourself. But now every professional website should ask. If anybody complains on that website, so the cyber crimes is going to block that website. That's it. Because cookies are very dangerous. They are the primary virus carriers on internet. That's the reason they have a facility of blocking cookies. So the point here is how we can store the data and use across. For that we need cookies. And actually, so to use cookies in various JavaScript based technologies, you have to depend on different third party libraries. For Angular, we have a library called, so Angular have various cookie libraries. You can download and use anything. Actually, one of the popular is you can install npm install. There is ngx cookie service. We have ngx cookie service. You can download this library. Actually, so many will be there. It's not guaranteed that everybody have to use this, because I told you this in class. In your company, they may be using something else. Then if you know how to use one, then another one you have to learn by yourself, because nobody knows which service your company uses, right? And if you know, so one specific service, in the same way all other services also work, right? But only the syntax methods will change. For example, you see, you can visit the website Node.js. You can visit the website Node.js npm npmjs.com. This is npm.js. It is the package manager. Here you can search for which library you are looking for. I will search for Angular cookie. Angular cookie, React cookie, JavaScript cookie. You can see NGX cookie service is there. And you need to check whether it is supported for your Angular versions or not. If it is not supported, then you are in trouble. Blindly, you can't download anything which is not supported and you are saying it's not working. Right? So you see so many cookies are there. So this is another Angular cookie. This is Angular cookie service. And you see hundreds will be there. Angular safeguard, NGX cookie. So many will be there. These are all cookies. But you need to verify whether this is supported for your version or not, because version issues will come. NGX cookie service. So as per, this is the publisher. So, and published 15 version. That means it is available for very latest. So you need to check those, whether it is supported for all versions or not. You click on it. You can see this is the cookie service. And it will give you all the information about how to use the cookies, how to implement them and all. Remember, this is all developers research, because in your company, they may be using something else. Your company is obviously not using Angular 14, 100%. 100%, they are not using Angular 14. They may be still working on Angular 12 or Angular 10. Some companies still Angular 8. Angular 8. So blindly you can't implement what you learned in Angular 14 directly in Angular 8 or Angular 10. They don't work. You need to learn compatibilities. At the end, I will post a compatibility table. You will see that in which version, which one is there. You need to just read the table and understand. Because majority, almost 99%, you have to work on older versions only, not on Angular 14. You will learn latest versions, right? You are excited in learning latest versions, you will learn latest versions, but companies are not too much excited about that. Right? Real world companies are too much not excited about every new version released every month. That is nonsense for them. Why? Because every few days I can't update my application. That is completely rubbish. Right? Once I develop an application, 4 or 5 years, I will not touch it until or unless client badly needs the new features. Right? We will never upgrade also. That means even client is not interested. So because you will say that it will take few days of time to upgrade into the new one, he will say that leave it, I don't want. That is the reason majority of your Angular projects still are Angular 8, Angular 10, Angular 12 means very recent. Right? Angular 14 very rarely you will see. Very rare you will see. Right? So here the point is, we must able to read the documentations. We must able to understand for which version compatibilities are there, what issues are there. As a developer, you need to explore. You need to read the documentation, you need to understand, and you need to implement. That is what you need to improve actually. At corporate level, to survive, you need to get this habit, right? Read the documentation, try to understand what changes they made, try to understand what compatibilities they are mentioning, and you need to implement that. If you don't have this habit, you can't survive in companies. That is the basic rule you need to know, right? You must able to explore yourself everything, right? Here we will give one task, one sample. Based on that, you need to handle others, right? Because the same will not be used by others. That is every time you have to keep in mind. And see, these are licensed under MIT. Do you have any idea on this MIT license? No. Any libraries licensed under MIT means they are not responsible for that. That means those people are not responsible for any technical issues in that. If any technical problem is there, they are not going to support you. You are on your own. That means you can't complain on them, you can't claim on them. MIT licensed is that completely you are on your own. If it is not working, leave it and use anything else which is working. You cannot simply complain that it is not working. Of course, it may not work. Certain options may not work because that is also developed by a developer like you. It may not satisfy every of your requirement. Then you can't complain on that. You are just using because he developed it for your convenience. And if you are interested in this, use it. Otherwise, go for another. That's it. Right? These are all risky factors in implementing third-party libraries because Angular don't have internally anything for creating cookies. You need to depend on third parties. I already told you in the beginning that gaps will be there. Remember that? That means how a technology is selected for building application. For that, you need to understand a table I told you as is, to be, and gaps. So that is the reason you need to verify what is your project requirement, what this library is providing, is it matching? If it is matching, implement. Okay, so we will implement this one. Oh, so let's try. Let's go to the project now. And here we will install npm install, what is it? ngx cookie service. Okay, save. I am downloading this ngx cookie service for project. You install here, it is available in your node modules. Automatically it will be in your node modules. So let's install. Oh, sorry. This is ngx, ngx cookie service. Yeah. ngx cookie service, we are downloading that service. It has some issues. What is the issues? Dependency issues are there. That means version issues are there. Because it is downloading the latest version of cookie, but currently latest version is 15. Our version is what? 14. So let's check the 14 version. ngx npm install ngx cookie service @14 I will give. That is done. Okay, so this is how you can install any older version. So if you are having a latest version available, but our compatibility is not with the latest version because our project is Angular 14 and their cookie version is Angular 15 related, very latest. So then what we have to do, ngx cookie service @net. Any library is same. Any library, when you install, it will install latest library. If you want to install the older version, then you have to use @net and that version number is 14. So it is installed. Okay, after installing, because this is depending on which version, if you created the 15 version, you can leave, it will successfully install. Otherwise you need to change, right? Yeah. Now once the library is installed, let's go. The cookie library is installed successfully. Now what we have to do, we will inject this cookie service. How to inject the cookie service into the component? So wherever you want to use it, you have to inject. First, we will do one thing. We need to create a login screen here. Login screen we have to create. How to create a login screen? So let's add a component. ng generate component shopper login. I am creating a shopper login. Okay. We are creating a shopper login, and here we will display. Yeah, let's go to shopper login and design a simple login screen. First, we will create a simple login screen, user login. So here we will keep a data list. Okay, and data term. So username. So input type is equal to text. Fine. And here we will put password. And data definition, input type is equal to password. Now I will keep a simple button here, login. Now class btn login, btn primary something. Now this login screen should appear automatically when user tries to open electronics page. Electronics page that should appear. And very important is if when it should appear if user is not logged in. If user is not logged in, I need to display that. Now here in this shopper login, after user enters user ID and password, we will collect the details. Okay. How to collect the details? We can use reactive form or you can use a template driven form. Anything you can do. I will do one thing. I will keep this in a form, and how to make it as a template driven form. So if we have a FRM login, it is what? NG form. And here we need to configure as a name. This is username and NG model. So hash username is equal to NG model. Next option is name. Name is what? So name is password and NG model, and hash password is equal to NG model. Now on button click we need to collect. Here we will use submit. On submit, what to do? So login click. On login click we need to send FRM login dot value. That means it is going to send username and password. We will collect that into the file here. So here we will write a method. So public login click. Login click is expecting. So user details. User details is what type? Any type. We are accessing the user details. Now in that user details, we have a username. I will just use the username. That means in the user details, we will have a username. So that means temporarily, I will put an alert user details dot, we have a property called username. Okay. Now here, this login should be available in the route. Now in the route, we need to create that login. We need to create the login here. So let's write the path. That means every path must be configured here. So login, and it should open the component. Which component? The login component. Shopper login component it should open. That is the path defined. Now let's go to the logic here. So let's go to the logic here. When user enters, observe carefully. I will access login directly, then login screen will come. In the login screen, user is entering username, some password and login. It gets that username. But what I have to do, this I need to save in cookie. Whatever username entered, I have to save in the cookie. And after saving, I need to redirect to electronics page. I need to redirect to electronics page. Let's see, lot of work is there here. When user clicks on this, we need to create a cookie now. In the cookie, user details must be stored. how to create a cookie. We have to first inject the cookie service, private cookie. So it is coming from cookie service. You see there is a cookie service. It is present in which library? NGX cookie service. So we are injecting the cookie service that we have installed. After that, we have to create a cookie. When login is clicked, how to create a cookie? Just very simple. We are using this dot cookie dot set. Set, what is the cookie name? Cookie name is username. What is the cookie value? User details dot username. That means whatever the username entered. Now automatically a cookie is created. In that username is stored. Username is stored. Let's check. How do we check? We can go to inspect. In inspect, you can go to here. There is a category application. You go to application category. In application category, you will find cookies. Cookies coming from this local host. Currently no cookie is there. Currently cookie empty, right? That means cookie is not there. From 4200 cookie is not there. You entered username John _ NIT, some password @123. You click on login. When I click on login, so the cookie must be created here. That means the cookie to be created here. Actually, so once I will open that here, you see cookie is created. The cookie is ready. And what is the cookie name? Username. And what is the value? John NIT. So we have a cookie created. Now it is present in the memory of browser. You can access from anywhere you want. You can access from anywhere you want. Any component can access and use it. Now who need to access this? The route guard have to access this. That means if anybody opens electronics, so first we have to verify cookie is available or not. If cookie is available, then we need to allow access. If cookie is not available, no. Then what we do? Let's go to the route guard. Let's go to the route guard. Here, can activate is true, but this we will decide based on cookie. Now, if I want to use cookie in this location, then I need a constructor. And in the constructor, we need to inject the cookie service. What is it? Private cookie. It is what type? Cookie service type. You need to inject that cookie. And here, when user activates this route, we need to verify whether the cookie available or not. How to verify cookie available or not? Actually, different cookies have different techniques. Some cookie libraries will verify undefined, equal to undefined. Some cookie libraries will verify equal to empty. That means some cookie libraries will verify like this. Cookie is equal to empty. Some cookie libraries will verify like this. Cookie is equal to undefined, like that, depending on library. Some cookie libraries will verify cookie.has. Is that cookie available or not? We don't know. Depending on which cookie library your company is using, you have to explore. You have to check. Let's check what they are using in NGX. You see, this is the NGX here. In this, what is that option they are using? What is the option they are using? So set is okay. So for verifying the cookie, what is that? It is using check. Understood? Whether the cookie exists or not. Whether the cookie exists or not, they are using cookie exists boolean cookie service using an option called check. Check the cookie name, it will return true or false. So that means if it is available, it will return true. If it is not available, it will return false. So you need to use this technique now. That means you have to use that. That is what verifying the cookie. Everyone cannot be in the same way, depends on different. Here they are using which one? Check. Yeah, so they are using the check. Let's do that here now. What we need to do here, we need to create a constant. So what is that? Cookie exists is equal to how to get this dot cookie dot check. What is the cookie name? Cookie name is what? User name. So it will return true or false. So if cookie check cookie exists is equal to true, that means it is there, then we have to return true. Otherwise we have to return false. Understood? I hope you got it. That means if cookie exists, then it returns to true. If cookie doesn't exist, then it returns false. Not only return false, actually it should redirect. Redirect to which location? Login. That means it should automatically take us to which screen? Login screen. How to navigate dynamically? If you want to navigate dynamically according to situation, then you need another service here. You need a service called route. There is a router service. You need to import a router service from Angular router. From Angular router, you need to import a service called router. We used activated route. Activated route is used for accessing the route parameters. Router is a service which is used for handling navigation from one page to another dynamically. Dynamically means on button click you want to navigate, on condition satisfied you want to navigate. That means if user ID password matching, then one page. If not matching, another page. How to dynamically navigate? For that we need this route. Very simple actually. So what we have to do by using this dot router dot navigate. Navigate to which path? We need to define the path. Path is what? It should navigate to login. That's it. That means it will navigate automatically to login if there is no cookie available. If cookie is available, then it will allow to access. If cookie is not available, automatically it will navigate to which page? Login. Remember, you cannot write anything after this return. Return is a terminator. So when you use return, after return, there cannot be any line. I hope you know that return is used to terminate the compilation. You cannot write any code after return, right? That is important. Okay, now this is the technique we defined here. Let's go to the shopping here. So some problem. So some problem is related to cookie service. Let's go to console. Some cookie created successfully only, but some problem in this exists. Let me check that. What is the problem here? It is all the problem related to cookie service. Let's check. Electronics home is coming. It is attached in the routing. Can activate electronics card. Module not found. A cookie service have any module? I think. Let's check. In their location. Acha. Cookie service is not having a provided. Yeah, it is saying that it doesn't have a inbuilt provider mentioned. That means service needs a provider, and they are saying that we don't have a provider mentioned in our service. Then what you should do? If they haven't mentioned a provider in their service, then you have to mention the provider. Na? Where to do that? app.module.ts. In app.module.ts, where to inject providers? In providers, what is it? Cookie service. Now it should able to solve the problem or not. Let's check. It is still not there. Module not found. Cookie service. It is imported from some other location. NGX cookie service. Now let's go to our app application. In the cookie, delete the cookies, all delete. I'm deleting these cookies. Right. Let's go to the home. We are going to home page. After that, electronics. It should not get that. So router card can activate is a Boolean only, right? It is returning false. It should not allow to access. I think some problem in this cookies library. Let's check. Let's inspect here. Electronics is not working. Acha, it is importing from some other location. We haven't noticed that. This cookie service have to come from where? Directly NGX cookie service. Okay, private cookie service. Another one we need private. What is it? So router, it is of what type? Router type. It is good. Okay. Yeah. So actual problem is the cookie service we are automatically importing without manually writing. So what it happened, it imported from some library, some API or something. Actually its root library is directly NGX cookie service. It is importing automatically from some other location. That is the problem. Okay. Now let's check this here now. Is there cookie created? Cookie is not created. Now what happens when I click on electronics? It should not open and it should redirect now. Let's do that now. What we have to do, we need to write the logic here. So all the logic goes in the same way what we done. What we have to do. So constant, what is it? Cookie exists. How to verify cookie exists? This dot cookie dot what? Check. Check what? Cookie username. Username is the cookie. Okay. So if cookie exists is equal to true, that means it should return true. Otherwise, else what should happen? It should return false. So, and before returning false, it should navigate. How to navigate? This dot router dot navigate. Navigate to which path? Navigate to login. That is the path name you need to define. That's how we need to define, right? Now let's go to the page and click on electronics. It should go to login. That's working fine, right? That means you try to open this electronics, you cannot access now. It will automatically redirect to login. Now I entered user ID, some John NIT and some password. So some password, login. Then automatically cookie is created. After cookie created, it should navigate to which page? Electronics. That we haven't written. That also we have to write. First I will click on login. Then after I click login, you can verify cookie is created now. After cookie is created, let's click on electronics and see. Then it opens electronics page. Understood? Why? Because cookie is available. Now you can access. Now I will go to home page and after that I will delete this cookie. Right click, delete. Cookie is deleted. After deleting cookie, click on electronics. That means he is no longer logged in. Then automatically it will go to login. So he can watch only when he successfully logs in. Now we need to implement this from the login screen. What we have to do when user clicks on login, after setting the cookie, we need to redirect to which page? Electronics page. Then what we have to do? So we need another one. Private, what is it? Router. It is of what type? Router. And here we need to import this dot router dot navigate. Navigate to which path? It should navigate to which path? Electronics. After successfully login, it will navigate to electronics. We can do one thing. In electronics, we can collect who logged in and we can show his username. That means in electronics, we can collect his details and we can display. That means let's go to electronics. First, we will check this. I will first go to home. I will try to click on electronics. It's not working. You have to log in. I will enter some username. I entered some password and I clicked on login. I click on login. It goes to electronics. Now very important, in electronics, who logged in, I want to display his name here. Understood? And I want to put a sign out button also so that user can sign out. You can keep anything. That means now how we can manage that? That's very simple. Actually in electronics, I can go home and come back to electronics anytime now. Why? Because I am still logged in until log out. How do we know that he is logged in or not? That means you can put the details like this. What we will do, let's go to the electronics page. Where is that electronics? Shopper electronics. In shopper electronics, here we have to use the cookie service now. We have to private inject. What is it? Cookie. What is the type? Cookie service. We have to import the cookie service. So it is from direct cookie service. Okay. After importing the cookie service, here what we do on initialization, we will create one property called username, user ID. User ID is what type? String type. It is initially empty. Now on initialization, we will get the user ID from that particular cookie. How to get the user ID? This dot user ID is equal to this dot cookie dot get. Get and the name. What is the name? Username. That is the cookie name. And this user ID must be displayed in the HTML page. Beside this heading, we want to display. Beside this heading, we want to display that username. That means we will get that user ID. And you can see who logged in, his ID will be there. That means who logged in, that ID will be displayed here. So this is his ID. Now what I want to do here, I need to put a logout button, right? Let's put a logout button. That means we will put a button. So class BTN and BTN link. And this is sign out. Okay. When user clicks on that sign out button, it should delete the cookie and it should go back to which page? Login, right? That's very simple. Now, what is the button click event? On click, we have to write sign out click. Okay, we will write a logic for that here. We need to write a function. What is the function? Public sign out click. On sign out click, what to do? We need to delete the cookie. How to delete the cookie? This dot cookie dot delete. Delete cookie name. Cookie name is what? Username. After deleting, where it should go? This dot router. We don't have router. Huh? We have to import router also here. Na? That means we need to import router. So private router. It is of what type? Router type. And we need to navigate. This dot router dot navigate. Navigate to which page? Login. After signed out successfully, it should go to login. Now you see here, let's click on sign out. Sign out, it goes to login. After that, I go to home. I click on electronics. We cannot because it is signed out. Signed out means cookie is deleted. And now I am entering some name, David, some name, 11 and username, password, and click on login, then logs in. Now, who is the user logged in? David. And you can go home and come back to electronics because still it is there. You can go home and come back to electronics. It is still available. But once I click sign out, it's gone. Now I try to click electronics, nothing. You can access jewelry, but you cannot access electronics. Like that, now you need to add that logic in every page. That means for jewelry, you need a guard. For men's clothing, you need a guard. For women's fashion, you need a guard. You need to add guard for every path. And in every guard, we have to verify the cookie. User cannot touch anything else until or unless he logs. This is the authentication, how it is defined in application. Here we are using authentication by using cookies. Here by using cookies, we are transporting data across components. In one component, in login component, what details he provided, we can access in any component and display. Any component in display. For example, see here, I entered name, password, login. It comes here. I clicks on details. In details also it should show. Because from details also he can sign out now. When I click on details, here it is not showing. Here also we can display. How to display? Same logic. What we have to do in details component also, you have to import the cookie. You need to create a user ID, display the user ID. There also click a sign out. Sign out can be defined anywhere. all pages should implement this logic now. That means now you are securing the application so that everybody will not access. That means until or unless they log in successfully, they cannot access. Now I signed out, then it is log out. Now actually, in reality, what we do, we keep this login details in our database. When user enters user ID password, we will connect to the backend API, verify whether the user ID password is there in the database. If there, then give access. Currently, we are just sending the username. Next level, we can verify with the database, but for that you need database. For that you need a server-side API. We can design in such a way that if user is not having account, user can register an account. So we will have to see the complete cycle now. The cycle contains registration, login, and authentication. That means user will come to login, but who can log in? Who have an account? How to create an account? Here we have to provide a registration form. So this, if we can implement, that means a complete end-to-end authentication is ready. That means user cannot access your application related certain resources until or unless he passed the authentication. This is authorization of routes, right? Now in this, we will implement registration form and a login form with a database that I will show you in tomorrow's session. Right, in tomorrow's session, I will give you an overview of a sample database, MongoDB, and a sample server-side technology, Node.js. By using Node.js, MongoDB, we will create API in the backend, and that API we will use in the front end. So tomorrow first I will show you how to create a API. And now we will use that API. That is completely depends on your technologies. You are a Java person, .NET person, or a PHP or a Python, your technologies will teach you how to create APIs. That is not my responsibility to show you, right? My responsibility is to show you how to consume the APIs and use, not creating APIs. But still I am showing one sample how to create an API using a common database, MongoDB, and Node.js. With that, we will create a registration form, a login form, and authentication. That complete cycle we will implement tomorrow. After that, I will upload this example after finishing the end-to-end integration. Then you can try this. Okay. Tomorrow we will see that then, right? Yeah.